Welcome to SpeedTech 2011. This is our full version, and let's introduce ourselves. My name is Malva Yildiz, Chair of the Instructional Technology Program.
Hi, I'm Danielle Applebaum, and I'm librarian at Worcester Library at NYIT.
Hi, I'm Minas Fazal, and I am an assistant professor in the teacher education program.
My name is Elizabeth Gorziak. I have my master's from NYIT, class of 2002. I am a technology teacher, and I'm here to present.
Dr. Daniel Stein, teaching in the MSIT program. My doctorate is in technology at Dowling, that just closed actually. And I've been a director of technology at Thoreau, and I enjoy teaching.
My name is Linda Matthews. I work at Planning, Analytics, and Decision Support as a information specialist. I'm also a student of the MSIT program, and I have 12 credits left.
Yay!
Fantastic.
Oh, can't see me. I'm Diane Williams. I run the Science Technology Entry Program out of the NYIT College of Osteopathic Medicine on cross campus. And I have everything completed for my master's in environmental technology and sustainability. I just have to get my master's approved, and I should be set by January of 2018. But my background is chemical oceanography.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'll do that.
All right, Diane, you are the first presenter, so now you can take over the baton.
So, you know, I'm at a bit of a loss because I thought I was coming here just to listen to what you guys are doing. So I don't have a PowerPoint or anything, and I'll just tell you.
I'm good. I'll get up there. I'm good. It's not that bad. Sorry.
Our campaign, that's the entertainment portion of the thing. Okay, let's make it a grand entrance. There you go. Got it. Go ahead. Sorry. You're set?
I'm good.
Okay.
I knew I was 100% myself today. So
I'm sure you're okay.
I'm good.
You're good?
It wasn't hurtful. It was just a panic. Wow, I'm falling.
Okay. But you better? So very quickly, NYIT as a university has had the STEP grant since 1994 in the technology-based learning systems out of Central Islip. The medical school has had the science technology program since 1994. And what it is New York State gives funding to colleges and universities in order to introduce underprivileged and economically disadvantaged high school and middle school students to science, technology, engineering, and math, and inspire them to pursue college. And if they pursue STEM in college, it's icing on the cake. So my goal is to open up their world to all of the new technology. I work with Glen Cove School Districts and Wyandanch School District. Many of the students I have from Wyandanch are currently homeless. They're trying to simply survive. So opening up their world that they can do this, and opening up the world of the possibilities of what they can achieve through coding, cybersecurity, medical health, biomedical engineering, environmental sustainability. I started the program where I've made a pledge to the United Nations this year to teach my students about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and that we are going to try and find a solution. So I've taught them about, everybody's okay? So I've taught them about the United Nations, their Sustainable Development Goals. We're trying to find a solution, and then I am going to be pairing them with subject matter experts from around the universities.
Do you have a website?
the STEP website.
Mhm.
I am about 57th on the list to get on the website. So soon we will have an updated website of what we do. But you can send out my information for anybody who needs more. And anybody who would be willing to help out my program better.
I forgot the days I volunteered, but sometime in the future I will be presenting.
February.
I can always get Elizabeth to come with me because she is the official STEM student in our program. So she's going to be more qualified than I do. I'm sure she's already. Yeah, she had a chance to take my environmental science, introduction to environmental science course this summer. And I also had a chance to go meet Diane and a crew of amazing technology educators in Central Islam. And you had a chance to stop by at one time. They were doing fidgets the day that she came.
Yeah, with a 3D, working with a 3D printer. Your son was in the class. That's how this all tied in. And I found out about this. I said, "Oh, I'd love to go because and I went twice, and it was very, very interesting, which kind of fed my mind into the Project Lead the Way, which I'm very interested in learning more about. And I went to the conference in October in Massachusetts that I was telling you about at Worcester Polytechnic Institute, and you and I will have lunch and discuss that further. But that was really, really interesting. That was very interesting to have. And the state of Massachusetts provides money and grant opportunities. So I'm wondering what we could do to get New York to do the same thing.
Or maybe it's doing it that we just have to find the right channel.
I think it would be interesting for NYIT to become a partner with Project Lead the Way. And you and I have had a brief discussion about that. And I would be really interested in being a catalyst to get that going here, because there are very few school districts on Long Island who are engaged with Project Lead the Way.
Can you give me like a 2-sentence description?
Project Lead the Way is kids building things with technology and how technology works. You buy these kits with all the little pieces, like it's almost like erector sets, and then you build projects based on their curriculum. And it was really interesting to see it, and I hadn't seen it at all.
Okay.
And the only reason why I even knew about Project Lead the Way is because as I was reading the want ads, Manhasset was looking for a technology teacher. We used to call it shop back in the day. And, with knowledge about, PTLW. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that is. So I Googled it, and it was Project Lead the Way while I was taking Melda's class. And I'm like, well, what's that all about? Like, how come I don't know anything about this yet?
Mm-hmm.
And I found out more about it. And South Carolina is really big into it. Southern states are really big into it. They do at Clemson University. They have trainings every summer. I'm thinking to myself, why don't we do that here? Why aren't we doing that here? Why aren't we doing this here? So I went to the conference, and Project Lead the Way is willing to partner with other universities, because I spoke to the woman who's in charge of that for the Northeast.
Is that the website?
Project Lead the Way, ptlw.org.
Yeah, I just found it. Twitter.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And it's the most amazing things. You start out with the littles, and you go all the way through high school. And kids who are applying to engineering programs like WPI, these kids have been through the program. So it was, it's a very interesting idea. And getting certified to do it isn't like a huge big deal. That's what they built. If anybody's ever seen the show BattleBots, that's kind of what that reminded me of.
Yeah, but this is interesting because it's more fine-tuned. I have
They have a definite curriculum. It's not just here's the stuff and go. It's a definite it's a program. And they're finding that kids of all learning abilities do well with it because it's just build something, take something and build it. You don't have to be a great reader. You don't have to have a great command of the English language. You don't have to be the smartest kid in the school to do this. In fact, they found it's just the opposite. Kids who are at the top of the class struggle with it because nobody's giving them the answer.
Right.
You're like, well, what's the answer? Well, you got to build the answer. So that's kind of interesting that the kids who are always at the top of the class struggle more with it. The data shows. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So, it's very inclusive. Gateway is launches little kids. Gateway is middle school, and then there's engineering. There's medical science, and a
I'm glad
couple
you came
others.
here. This is a great.
It's a great partnership, and it's
Biomedical science.
It's things
And
that
I don't
we
know
do
why we're
that
not
we
doing
can
this
have
at
another
non-com.
program.
We could do it at non-com.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, when I get back, I told Melda, I said, I talked to her yesterday, I said, we have to have lunch and talk about this, because we have to bring this here. We have to.
And Dr. Stein is going to help us, right? Also.
Dr. Bertram wrote a book about
I think
learning.
you're a volunteer for life. Okay, so this is very exciting, and I am, I guess, going to give these links and all the resources once I share this, because it's very important that we carry through. I'm still waiting for our first presenter, and thank you for filling in while we're waiting for her. But I guess I'm not going to wait my presenters. I'm going to go around circles so they can present. But I guess I also want to hear if you have time to talk a few minutes about your arts projects and collaborations in Houston. So if you have time to talk.
It's not a fully developed idea yet.
Okay.
It's very much a work in
But if you have anything to share, you are more than welcome to join, because we had several cancellations that need to be filled.
So there are two things that interest me, and I'll just very briefly mention those. One is what Nanda was referring to. I just got back from Houston. In fact, I came yesterday, where we met. I got an opportunity to meet with the Museum of Fine Arts over there, and they are collaborating with the Aga Khan Museum in Toronto and trying to bring in more awareness around Islamic art, because of with the aim of pluralism and understanding pluralism and tolerance. So that's kind of like the real theme that they have been working towards, which I think is really exciting. And I got to meet with the curator, and we talked a little bit about educational programs around that. And but that was just the first meeting yesterday. So I don't know where that's going to go. And NYT has been really good with doing STEM collaborations with museums. So we've done, we've had a history of working with a lot of science. I don't think we've done a lot of work around art. So we've not done a lot of work around STEAM with museums, at least not that I'm aware of. I could be corrected. And so this is sort of interesting to me to try and see how we can also bring in the idea of art to teach. So I'm on the other spectrum, right? So we have the sciences and you wonderful people who can emphasize and promote science, learning, and engineering thinking in children. I'm on the other hand, I always want to be looking at what is the morality behind it? What is the value that we're looking at things behind it? And are we really preparing our children the way we should be preparing and not just getting carried away with the shiny new toy? And so constantly thinking about how are we inculcating, just what's the ethics behind it? Because technology is not value neutral. And I don't know if you guys have read these books lately and reports lately that talk about the Frightful Five. The Frightful Five are Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple, one more. Who's the big one? Google. Thank you. Yes. And so I'm reading this book, which is A World Without Mind: The Existential Threat of Big Tech data. And essentially, the author has actually picked up proxy variables for the thinking level. And he's beginning to show that how these technology firms have emerged and are growing,
thinking is actually being reduced. He's able to actually look at it and quantify it. That's how we are thinking less and less. Google tells you what to think. Amazon tells you what to buy. Apple tells you what is entertaining. Facebook tells you who you should meet. And I haven't reached the chapter yet, which talks about Microsoft. So I'll get there eventually. So that's sort of my underlying thing, that we have to do science and engineering. Of course, that is the foundation of our society and of life, I believe. But we have to constantly also keep asking the question, how are we teaching it to our children?
It's interesting you say that, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
You're not cutting us. No.
I'm currently reading a book called Earth Ed, and it talks about environmental science. I'm bringing it in together. And I personally think there's a reason why colleges have the College of Arts and Sciences, and arts and sciences have always been together, the same brain patterns, the same thought process. And the thing is, for centuries, environmental education was all about how we can conquer the earth, and the earth is a vast treasure trove of resources that can withstand anything we heap on it. How do we use these resources to our benefit? And obviously we're at a critical mass with that, especially with climate change. And when I have conversations about it, I say, Mother Nature doesn't care whether you're a Republican or Democrat. She's angry, and this isn't going to stop. So this early education talks about changing the thought process of how we educate students about the environment that we share. And I really love what you had said about the morality behind what we're doing and the shiny new toy as opposed to it. When I talk to students, they can identify 150 logos without even thinking of it off the top of their heads, but can they name the planets? Can they name, when I first spoke to my students about the United Nations and was talking about the history behind the Millennium Goals, now the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030, and bringing in the conversation, you could hear a pin drop. And I said, I'm sorry, I was leaving this as an open discussion. I just wanted to plant some seeds and we'll dive deep later. Am I overwhelming you? And one girl said, I didn't know about any of this. And I said, you didn't know about the Sustainable Development Goals? That's okay, that's why I'm here. She said, I didn't know we had a UN. So what is it that they're learning? And so I really love what you said. Thank you. I didn't mean to take up your time.
Oh, no, you gave me an idea
So
to put this out.
Yeah,
So let me check your alphabet branding.
seen that.
So
Saw that over the summer. It's
So-
an alphabet.
when she mentioned the alphabet, so okay, what does O stand for?
Oreos.
Okay, how about
Wow.
E?
Eggo.
Good job.
wow.
S.
Skittles.
Starburst. You guys are amazing.
What, are you like gaining weight at the table?
Yeah, let's eat some stuff.
Wow.
See, celery.
Okay, but when we ask the students questions like, who are these people? Supreme Court of the Ring or the Fellowship of the U.S.?
They would know Lord of the Rings.
They knew this, and just like what we said, they don't know UN, they don't know Supreme Court. These are not interesting for them. So anyway,
But I don't even think that it's brought up that they're taught that this should be important to them, and that they have a voice in there. It's quite obvious that they can know who a handful of people.
They probably know more about Kim Kardashian than they can name one Supreme Court justice, because that's what's on their Twitter feed. That's what's on their Facebook. That's what's on Google as quote unquote news. That's not newsworthy. The fact that she named her daughter North, that they know. It's a matter of what is posted at them all the time.
Did she really knew her daughter North?
Yeah, Northwest. Yeah, the son is named Saint West.
She's having a surrogate baby with a third.
all right, what is this photo tells you?
Here's an example I did in my conference yesterday. The day before yesterday, I was presenting an online conference, and the people were very impressed with this dialogue we had. So maybe you can have some input. Tell me, what's going on in the picture?
It's a woman sitting on a bench.
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, later from afar, from
Who's European?
European. Do you need a little hint?
she might be a servant in the house, maybe.
Let's see if we can go through.
She's got a. Oh wow!
What
Oh,
happened was,
she's getting a portrait taken.
yes,
That's
this is
the
the earlier
era.
Photoshop, right? Before Photoshop.
Wow.
She needed to send home a message saying, I'm okay, life is good, don't worry about me, where the whole city or village she's living in is all crumbled. Again, stories that we bring to the classroom through these technologies, it's only the angle that the newspaper shows, right? Or the camera person took the picture. So we do media literacy, that's my big thing, that bringing these alternative ways to look at the zoom out to the image. And one little clip, if we have time at the end, I'll show it to you. It shows that the same story was videotaped from 3 different angles. In the first angle, you see man is almost trying to grab the purse of the other man. And the other one, it looks like this man, this time hitting a woman. On the third one, it's an extreme long shot. This time you see this man, woman, and the other man. And you see a big boulder falling. So this man is actually trying to rescue them, not to steal purse or anything. So depending on what angle, you can tell different stories. Depending on how you take the photo or zoomed into it, you can tell different stories. All right.
I want to share something with you. When I was doing teacher education at Thoreau, we did internet literacy, right? And I had the teachers put together a course to find out what they would need to, and I gave them a website, and it was whale watching in Lake Michigan. And they came up with costs for airplane, costs for hotel, and
Whale
costs for
watching
transport.
and like Michigan.
Right.
You smell
I don't know
whales.
whales in Michigan.
That's exactly what they found out.
How could you not know that? How does somebody know that there are not whales in a lake? A lake is a freshwater body. Lake whales don't live in. Okay.
I had them in all my classes. I said, you're going to ask for a grant to take a class. How much would you ask for? You're going to pay for chaperones and how many kids, and they put this whole analysis. And in order to get the costs and locations, you can go online and search whale watching in Lake Michigan, and there's a whole website, and you see the boats harpooning, watching the whales. So after they did all this work, they realized, or brought to their attention, that there are no whales in Lake Michigan, and if it's on the net, it's not necessarily true.
Oh,
So
It seems whale watching is becoming quite a thing here in northern Michigan. Great Lakes, while whale
Isn't that
watching,
fun?
charter boats. Yep.
You see
That has to be
they
like an April Fool's Day thing.
well, but after they do all their work, they go, and so you can't believe everything just because it's on the net. But that's
Well, you also can't believe that somebody doesn't know a
Yeah,
whale lives in a
especially a
lake.
teacher.
I can't believe that you can't believe that people wouldn't get it. I knew they wouldn't get it.
And those people have
I'm gonna go cry.
No, I'm talking about people. These are kids. These
Okay,
are
let me
graduates.
share you one
Yeah.
more. Now that you made me, it's on my computer. This is Gallup poll by CNN done during the Shuaiwa case. The lady who's dying in Florida, the husband decided to remove the tooth. It was a big deal.
Yes, yeah. it
At
was.
that time, here's the results: Democrats and Republicans. And look at the polls of margin, plus and minus 7. So what is wrong with this chart that they had to change it an hour later because people are like, you're doing it wrong. So what does the 62, 54, and this chart looks like?
The scale is not
The
equal
scale
about
is
yeah.
The scale is not started at 0. So it looks like plus and minus. If you do plus
Right.
54 is actually 61. So it's almost the same,
Yeah.
but it is very deceptive. Again, we're talking about the same data. They're not lying about the numbers, right? But the way in which you represent the numbers may tell a different story. Here's an example.
It can be very skewed.
Yeah, here's an example I created. Look at the big orange line on the east, on the third quarter. That doesn't look like a big increase. So if I am a superintendent, I'm trying to tell you there's not that big increase among these three, east, west, north, as opposed to if I change the increment, squeeze them a little bit, look at the other chart. This looks like on the third quarter, there's a huge spike. Again, it's the same data, but you can manipulate, massage, or turn it from the pie chart to a bar chart, and you can tell a whole different story. So that's not technology. Let's go into real Google technology.
Oh, okay.
You want to use my laptop? Because
Are
everything.
you're sharing it up there?
Yeah.
It's
But
can you
what
pull
you-
up the document with the links?
Sure.
And I think I can.
Nata, while you're pulling that up, can I also raise another question?
Absolutely.
That just because technology, we can teach our students what are some things that technology does better, which there is a lot. Should we stop teaching them how to do those same things without technology? For instance, writing. That's a classic example. And we are in this big debate. 10 years from now, will anybody actually know how to handwrite?
I stopped teaching citation generators
There you go.
because they cause more trouble. It's actually quicker to do it manually.
But, but let's say that it
people
wasn't
rely on
quicker to do it manually. If it was quicker to do it with the technology and the computer, no. It all goes back again to whether or not we are doing critical thinking. I have to admit, very shamefully, one of my vices is I like watching Grey's Anatomy. And so this week's Grey's Anatomy was all about that. They have a power outage and all the computers completely shut down. And so here's this old doctor who's actually now using these old methods to check whether or not there's blood in the urine. What do you do when, those heart palpitations are too high? But things now that they have to rely on without the help of technology. And so it brought me back again to my thought process about just because technology can do something and do it really well, should we stop teaching our children? And I don't know the answer to this, but should we stop teaching our children? This is some of the things that still need to be done in an old-fashioned way. I don't know.
I'm an environmental scientist. I say no. I think kids that really need to be a part of nature and understand that, like biomimicry, a lot of solutions are taken from nature, nature's already figured out the solutions. So my vote is no. You need to know the basics before you can build on the technology. And modern technology can save lives. And it's absolutely amazing. And we think laparoscopic surgery as opposed to big, giant open heart stuff. So I apologize.
No, not at all. I'm just set the Fitbit for 5 minutes. So changing gears just a little bit. I use Google Forms in my classes, and I wanted to share today just a little bit about how I do that because it's one of the things that have enabled me to go paperless in my classrooms. So I use Google Forms in a one-shot, and you may be wondering what the heck is a one-shot. A one-shot is what we librarians refer to as a single research session that's taught in the context of a larger course. So it really refers to the fact that we get one shot to teach these students relevant research strategies and resources within that particular course. Usually they don't come back. And if they do, it's usually, consultation or stop by the desk. But this is really the only time we get to spend with them and dedicate that time to, just research strategies. So I use it as part of my course. My one-shots are typically a mini lecture at the beginning, and then a game. I use Kahoot in the classroom. I know, isn't it fun? I use Kahoot to sort of do a review of the lecture and sort of, get everybody a little bit more lively than they were during the lecture portion. And then we do hands-on activity. And I use the Google Forms for the hands-on activity, which forces students to actually go back to all the resources they just learned about and use them in the context of a given research task that I assign to them, or with their own particular research topic if they have one at that point. One of the things I like about the Google Forms is that it adds accountability. When I was just doing strictly worksheets, I would get a lot of sloppy work. I couldn't read it. Sometimes they wouldn't hand it in, and I couldn't really tell who didn't hand it in. And it was hard to give them feedback from that worksheet. So when I switched over to Google Forms, what I noticed is that instantly when I started saying you have to type your name in and I'll be able to see whether or not you actually completed this exercise, I was getting more thoughtful work and more complete work. So just to give you sort of an idea of how I use it, so I have the questions on the front end, and again, I require a name. I usually ask them to tell me about the topic they've chosen, and then I tell them specifically what resources they're going to go to and what they need to find for me. And generally, I ask them to find something, either an overview if they're at the beginning stages, or I ask them to find me a scholarly peer-reviewed article if they're, towards the later stages of their project. And so I can tell when they submit these links exactly what they're finding. So when I was doing worksheets, it was more like, show me what, tell me what you found. Now that I use Google Forms, I am saying, show me what you found. And so when they fill out a form like this, on the back end, I have this displayed during my class. So I see their answers coming in, and then I have all the questions, and I just click the links as we go. When this is really helpful because, again, I can see exactly what they found, and I know by what they're giving me whether or not they employed the strategies I told them to use. And so when I see that they gave me a newspaper article that we don't have access to, I can tell them again, remember, you need to use the checkbox that says full text, which means we'll get everything that we subscribe to, and academic journals, so you get scholarly materials. So it's really helped me to go over everybody's work very quickly and make recommendations as necessary. And also it helps me see some trends. Like some students don't remember that they need to get the permalink, which is a stable link, and they grab the link that's at the top of the page. For them, it's important to know because if they like to save their resources and come back to them later, if they do it that way, they'll never get back to their sources. So again, it helps me identify, things that as a class they didn't get, or maybe some things that maybe a couple of them didn't get. But I'm able to address pretty much everything because it all comes in so quickly. I also use the Google Forms to add a little bit of variety. One thing I noticed when I had group work and I gave the same activity, but just divided them all into different groups, the first group to finish would give each group the answers. So in order to avoid that, I know they really like to help each other. So to avoid that, I can differentiate by their first multiple choice selection what kind of activity they get in subsequent sections of the Google form. So if they hit group 1, I could tell group 1 they have to do, they have to search for sources on the vegan and vegetarian food industry. This was from a management course that I gave a presentation for. Again, I give them the same activity, but I give them different takes on the same activity. So another group has to find something on EdTech. And then another group has to find something on, say, specialty grocery stores. So it lets me add a little bit of variety. It also helps me prevent groups sharing their answers because everybody's working on something different. I also use it to sort of differentiate my approach. So for some students, when they come in, they have absolutely no idea what they're going to do. And then some students in the class have kind of an idea, and then other students are ready to go. They have a topic, they have something they want to focus on, and it's really hard to differentiate by each student and give them the kind of attention that they need when they're at such different levels in the same class. When I know I'm going to encounter that situation, I can actually use the Google form to sort of address each of their needs. So in this case, I have them put their name in, and then if they select that they have no idea, they go to an introductory exercise where they have to browse and come up with a preliminary topic, and then they can go and launch into finding the actual resources. If they kind of have an idea but haven't focused on something specific, I have a strategy exercise that shows them how to go through and sort of figure out how to narrow down from what they're interested in initially. And then they can launch into that exercise where they're actually finding the materials. And then finally, for my students who are ready to go and have a topic, they get to jump straight to that activity where they're finding the materials for that particular project. So I pretty much made it in 5 minutes. Any questions?
That's very good.
Yeah, they're so
I
inspirational.
will use it a different way now.
I love Google because you can tell it to go different places based
I like
on
the
the.
spreadsheet.
Yes.
we have
They didn't, that's
Yeah.
rather recent.
Yeah, no,
It's
they upgraded like in the last year and a half.
And I would like to prevail, impose and show me how to set up a folder where students can send up files, sort of like the Blackboard pieces.
Yeah, sure. Why don't I, actually, I could make a Jing video and then put that in the doc. Perfect.
Jamie's still
Wow.
there? I thought
Yeah,
you-
Jing is still
Okay.
operating. Jing is great.
So
And then
screencast.
Yeah, I'll make a screencast and I'll put it in the file and then
That'd be
everybody
great.
can.
Okay, sure.
Hi, Jason.
Hey, Jason.
Hello.
Jason was in another room waiting for us. And finally, I'm checking my phone, so thank you. So sorry, Jason. We're connected now.
Great, thank you.
And before we ask questions, can I just let Jason go ahead and do his 5 minutes? Because he has a meeting at 4 starting. Sure. So do you want to just jump in? We can start sharing and you can start sharing your screen.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Let me go to my presentation and let me share my screen very, very fast. Go.
Jason, also introduce yourself. Some of us do not know you.
No problem. Okay, so hello everybody. My name is Jason Rosenblum. I teach in the program, currently teaching an instructional systems design class, and also next semester I'll be teaching the gaming virtual reality class. I had been also with the Center for Teaching and Learning, but today's my last day in that position. So, but I want to take just a few minutes and to review Slack as a tool for team communication. This is something that is that I've used in previous projects, and introducing it to my students this semester. I think they're very new to it, but let me just give a quick overview and then invite some questions. And I can actually show you the Slack app. We don't have a lot of time for a real interactive presentation, but this will at least get us started. So Slack is a tool. Basically, it's an instant messaging application, but unlike a lot of other instant messaging applications, it's very flexible in that you can organize Slack spaces, otherwise known as workspaces. So theoretically, every class that you have can have its own workspace, or rather, it can have its own Slack. I used it initially in the beginning of the term to do a basic introduction and for student communication, but I'm also using it as the official tool for live office hours, meaning that I can be online during that time and have people ping me with questions. You can send files back and forth, so it's a way to do very, very quick collaboration. So the way that Slack works is it's not only desktop based, but it's also a mobile app. It's a mobile first app, and you can have a desktop application in addition to a web-based application. So here's a snapshot from that app, and as you can see, there's a Slack URL for that for my particular class, which is simply nyit-edtr.slack.com, but I can have as many workspaces as I want. Slack allows for, within a workspace, Slack allows for multiple channels within the workspace. I haven't defined a lot of channels. This is a snapshot from the Slack space for my class. I haven't defined anything besides the general channel, and then there's the random channel, but you can define multiple channels. So let's say if this became a part of the culture within courses at NYT or even at other places that I might teach, then I might be able to define a channel, let's say, for individual groups, for instance. So you can have many workspaces. Workspaces can have many channels. You can direct message people, of course, and so you can. This is designed to be as flexible as you want it to be. So these are some of the just basic communications for the initial part of the class. I added this screenshot because I wanted you to see that when you hold down one of the menus, one of the contextual menus, you have the option of sharing files. So I wouldn't put really large files out in the space, but I actually have used Slack in a previous project before I came to NYIT with a team that did share files, and they shared drafts of documents. This was when we were designing a game curriculum to teach little kids how to design a game using a text-based game tool. And we were sharing game designs and so forth, and Word documents or whatever, or flowcharts, and we would do that in Slack. And it was a much more clear process than trying to do that just through traditional email. And in fact, next semester in my gaming and virtual reality class, I would actually like to make that a part of the curriculum, because I shudder at the thought of trying to use Blackboard as a way to manage my files. Okay, so here's an example of a Slack URL. You can customize this. During the first 30 days, you can actually send, it makes it a lot easier for students or other people to sign up once, let's say you create the Slack space, and in 30 days, there's a link, and you go and you sign into the link, and boom, you're in, and you can register for a Slack account. Otherwise, what happens is that you enter in the URL, sign into a workspace, and you can easily invite members at that point. So you can add their email addresses and their name, and it invites people to the Slack. There is a link, but that link expires after like about 30 days, I think, is the maximum, I believe. So that is all for the basic presentation. And then now let me instead get out of this screen share, and I'm going to share the actual Slack application here. So I have multiple Slack workspaces here. So here's the NYT CTL workspace, which I believe that Fran is actually going to now use to communicate with the graduate assistant, as well as the a woman who's doing an internship with CTL. And so you can have multiple channels. You can see there was a channel for high impact practices, and you can see there's direct messages here. There's like 9 back and forth, so they are clearly in the middle of using that. There are also multiple channels that if you're logged into it, which I'm not for this workspace, and here's the Hello World Slack Studio. I'm not going to sign into it because this is actually an active Slack space. I'm no longer on that team. And I had signed out because I was continuing to get notices from the current team, which is in Austin, Texas. So that is the broad overview for Slack and how it can be used for team communication. And I'm going to welcome any questions that you might have about that.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
I work out of the mid school, and the mid school uses Piazza, and I work with students in separate districts, and I wanted a secure way for them to speak with each other in the different groups that I have. I have solutions, I have research, I have robotics, I have science, etc. And so that was pretty much the choice that was given to me. But you seem pretty comfortable with Slack. Is it similar to Piazza, or can I?
So Piazza is a platform for managing Q&A, and it lets instructor. I think it organizes things much differently, and it's customized. I think much more so to a very specific kind of academic environment, and I think it's designed to build community around asking questions. I think Slack is much more is designed and was designed for people that are collaborating and working on projects. So where Slack is more of a Q&A type tool and is very, very good at that, I think. I have not actually ever used Piazza, but my understanding is that it's very, very good for that. So and I think I would use Piazza in substitution for maybe the Blackboard discussion forum, for instance. Whereas Slack, I wouldn't use it. You could use it as a substitute for a Blackboard discussion, although it's a little bit different from that perspective. Piazza probably is a better tool for that. But if you're wanting students to pull together on a project, to communicate as a team, to share information, I think Slack is I think it's a much more focused application for that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. We have a couple of presenters on the line. So I know Jason has to go, but I can give your email address for further questions.
Please. That would be fantastic.
Thank you.
All right.
We'll be emailing you.
All right, we'll do. Not a problem. All right. Take care, folks.
Thank you. Have a good
I
meeting.
have to,
Bye-bye. Thanks.
I have to take my kids to their
Track meet. That's why I'm so sorry. We'll continue our dialogue. So I got in cyberspace. Thank you. It's only started, right? It's good to sometimes meet face to face and then collaborate in the future. So Matt, you're next. We, here's my brother.
Hello.
Hi there. You can hear us clearly and we can hear you clearly. If you have slides to share, you can hit the screen share. And if you can introduce yourself, I really appreciate it. I met you, I'm so inspired by you, and that's why you are the keynote speaker of the day. So please take the microphone. It's all.
Okay, so I'm Matthew Cornelius. Hello, I work out of the Department of Digital Art and Design. I'm the Director of Art Media Technology for that department and also the Director of the NYT Motion Capture Lab. And so because of those two roles, and also Director of the Hive that's in the Digital Art and Design Department on the 9th floor in 16 West 61st. I encourage you all to stop by. So what I'm going to show are some slides from different projects that we've done. But my role in those different labs mean that, and it's kind of, you know, the goal of both of those is to get involved in interdisciplinary projects throughout the university. So we do stuff with medical, we do stuff with engineering, just across the board, computer science, electrical engineering, everything really. So I'm just going to start this. Let me just bring up this this slide here. So this is presentation that I did at one of the provost's luncheons. Yeah, you guys can see that? Is it big enough? Okay, so hold on a second, let me just minimize that. So I'm just going to briefly go through this. So first of all, we have so this was a interdisciplinary presentation. So just some of the flyers from the department, and a little bit about me, my background. Started in computer graphics with, my father brought home a computer when he was doing, he worked with banks, and he brought home a computer and it had like MS, 1 on it. And I started with computer graphics with that. I was actually, even though I was on a monochrome screen, I was doing in the paint program, and instead of colors, I'd have to use patterns to kind of denote different sections. So I started in computer graphics way back with just a monochrome screen and the basic paint program. From there, I did all kinds of web design and worked in game design, and then was one of the 4 founding members of a company called Natural Motion, where we applied physics to motion capture. So essentially what that meant was that we built a physical representation of a human body, and we took all the joint limits for the human body and added mass objects to each portion of the limbs. And so that meant that we could start a motion with motion capture, and then at a certain frame, flip it over to physics, and we'd have physics continue the motion. So there was a lot of falling down, obviously, with that. One of the things that we kind of brought to the movie industry and later on video games was the ability to create a character and have it fall realistically. So one of the things that we worked on was the horses in Lord of the Rings, where all the horses were running and they were all falling over, and made them look realistic. So that's a little bit about me. Oh, no. So this is the Motion Capture Studio. If you haven't been to the Motion Capture Studio, I encourage you all to come out. We're in room 107, 108 of the Midge Carr building. And this is a 32 camera Vicon system, which is similar to the ones that are used on movie production. Obviously ours is much smaller, and we don't have the funding of major motion pictures, but it's essentially the same technology. So this is at one of the demo days that we have. One of the things that we did with the Motion Capture Studio is we installed a remote directing capabilities. So we put up video cameras and microphones around the space. So if you're not in the mocap studio, you can still direct a mocap shoot through Zoom, and you can communicate back and forth with the actors. So here, the slide is showing what we did with students in our Beijing campus. They dialed in and were able to do some real-time live mocap. This goes on to explain a bit about the Hive, which again is 9th floor and 16 West. There's a view of the Hive. So in the Hive, we have a mixture of different technology. This slide kind of shows some of the different things that we have, but we have motion capture suits, we have VR and AR equipment, a lot of 3D printers, 3D scanners. So there's really a plethora of new technology that we open up to the students. So this is all the stuff that's outside of the regular curriculum. And so we have software as well, specialty software that's not installed in the regular image in the classrooms. And it's open for any student to come in and experience some of that software. Also, it allows the CG students to have some specialty software like physics simulations or cloth simulations, as well as like foliage tree generators that they can use to kind of round out the effects of their animations. So as I said, we do a lot of cross-disciplinary projects. So here's one that we did. Hold on, I'm gonna have to share a different portion of my screen here. So this one is a, let's see, sorry. So this was a project that we did with architecture, engineering, and computer science students and art students. And this was a view of what the library in Manhattan could look like in the future if we changed the layout of it and added technology on the ground floor, move the students up to the higher levels where they can watch their football games and stuff upstairs, and just include all this different technology in our showcase, really, which is it's our display case for NYT. And so what we wanted to do is show how we could install some technology in there. So we have motion capture, we have a TV studio, green screen, cameras, a control deck for all of that, 3D printers, excuse me, and video interactive screen for the outside. This now is a VR presentation of the same or VR experience of the same presentation. So this is now someone in a VR headset like the Oculus or the Vive, and they're able to walk around the ground floor library as it's changed now with new technology. We put in a skylight. And so you can see it's just like a mock-up of how we felt that and we knew our audience, of course, a mock-up of what we felt that our display case for NYT could be. So hold on a second, let me stop that. Sorry, let me get back to the PowerPoint here. Okay. So we've done some work with different schools. So here's Pratt and their Digital Arts and Humanities Research Center with Final Frontier Design that designed spacesuits. This was an interior design project we did with Oxford Brookes. As I said, we work with the medical department, and we did different projects with them. This is one that we did with, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to play that.
Unless you're in the slide share presentation mode.
What's that?
You can just hit the slide at the bottom so that your presentation mode.
Where
and
the
your
screen is
will
on your left, at the bottom.
at the bottom on
At
the
the
left.
bottom down here. Oh, this one.
Yeah,
That one.
Okay. So let me see. Can you see this video?
I think it's just trying to go to the next page. You selected your desktop view.
Hold on a second. I think it's looking at the wrong thing. Let me just
Then we will be able to read
share
it.
that. Okay, can you see this video now? Off. So this is the off presentation. So this was a project that we did with the Mill, which is an international computer graphics special effects company.
It's frozen.
What's that?
It's frozen on our end. It's not playing.
Oh, you can't see it?
Can you put the link to the chat box and I can play?
Oh, there it is.
Okay, you got it? Okay. It's because I made it full screen, I guess. So the Mill works on a whole series of different commercials and movies, and this was a project that we did with our motion capture studio. They brought in some interpretive dancers, and this was a title sequence for a conference, a design conference in St. Petersburg. All right, so so we'll go back to the slideshow here, which seems I've lost. Oh, there it is. Okay. So Haddington Dynamics, I don't know if you have seen this around campus, but we worked with I worked with Haddington for 2 years to get them into the university, and this is a robotics project that we have with the interdisciplinary department. It's a 3D printed 5-axis desktop robotic arm that uses a supercomputer and has a very fine micron level of accuracy in its movements. So we're looking at using this in medical applications because it has like a 5 micron movement ability. So this is happening. We're doing builds of these in the library in Old Westbury and in Manhattan. And we should be, if you pass the library in Manhattan, the window, you should see this starting next week in that front window that they're going to be building one of these robots. This was a project that we did with the Metropolitan Museum of Art. This is with the Viscardi Center, where we work with kids with disabilities. And this is a really great interdisciplinary class as well. This was one of the projects that they did. One of the problems that they had was the wheelchairs are very expensive, and you need to prove that you are capable of maneuvering it before you get it. So they're kind of in a catch-22. They can't get one to prove that. So this project was to be able to have a virtual simulator of the chair so that they could prove competency on the chair in virtual reality before purchasing. This was an ornament project that we did with Lincoln Square, just up the street from the Manhattan campus, where we did, I think, 100 ornaments, 3D printed, laser cut. And again, that was a completely cross-disciplinary project just disciplines from all over the university. This is another slide of that. So this is a list of some current projects. And one of the things I'm going to show is, just quickly, is this. So this was a presentation I did. This was a presentation I did about the mixed reality motion capture stage. So this is a project that we're working on currently, and we hope to try and get something maybe downstairs in the library, have a cross-disciplinary mocap stage where classes can look at or be in virtual or augmented reality altogether. So this talks about sensor fusion and the different types of technology. So this just goes through and briefly explains some of the technology. So virtual reality is with the CG environments. Augmented reality, you're overlaying some CG onto a video. And mixed reality is just a mixture, a cross between those two. We're looking at using motion capture with our optical system, but also with an inertial system. And we have both of those. We have the inertial system up in the Hive in Manhattan, and we have the optical system in Old Westbury. And then looking at either using the Oculus, the Samsung Gear, or the Vive for that. And then also the 3D scanning to be able to input real world objects. And it also does some tracking as well. This just describes some hand tracking that we would implement. So the mixed reality mocap stage is it's like a big digital immersive whiteboard, essentially. It's a space where you can bring in any content. You can move around that in those 3D models. You can interact with them and just be in an immersive space. Also including 360 video as well. So you can go on site somewhere, take some video, and bring that back. This just talks about motion capture, kind of what that looks like. You can see in this slide, this is a mocap stage in California where they've got all the cameras on a rack around the walls, and the actors are in suits with markers on them. This goes through the virtual camera that we have. Are you able to see this video?
So this is the virtual camera.
Are you able to see this? Yeah, okay. So this just kind of goes through our virtual camera. So this allows us, we put some tracking markers on a camera rig, and we use that to, as a camera, basically like you're using a real camera, but it's in the virtual world. So on the screen there, on the camera, is what the virtual camera is seeing. And so now we've got our actor in his suit, and you can see on the video on the screen, it's a computer graphics character. So it's a 3D model of a character, and we can basically use this like it's a real camera. So this is how we would be able to explore virtual reality spaces. This just talks a little bit about the inertial system. Here you can see someone is in a mocap suit with a virtual reality playing. So the view on the left on his screen is what he's seeing. So it's he's able to look at himself as a virtual character, and this allows for greater immersion and experience within a VR environment. So you can interact naturally with the VR environment rather than trying to have a controller in your hand and using a controller.
Cornelius, I think I told you it's 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, sorry.
You have so much to share.
Yeah, there's too much going on. So anyway, that's pretty much it. I don't know how long that was, but I'm sure it was over 5 minutes. But anyway, yeah, I don't. Thank you. Thanks.
How you do it all? It seems like
how that's all in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's if I tried to just get it in one go, yeah, it wouldn't be possible. But just doing it over the years, you know, it's just building on stuff. So yeah, these last few years building on the motion capture experience, and then VR coming around, and it's just like, oh, well, what if we take this and put this together, and you know, how can all these different technologies kind of work with one another? So
Thank you so much for your inspiration. I think you know you're also recorded, so this session will be aired on several locations on the
Okay.
for your time. Go to your next meeting.
Yeah, there's a VR workshop and expo going on tonight in Brooklyn that I'm headed to. So I'm just going to share with you the email addresses for the Hive and the motion capture studio. All right, there you go. There's both of those. Okay, thank you very much.
Have a wonderful meeting, and if we have questions, we know where to email, right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
I am sorry to cut it short because I know he's running. And our next presenter is from Abu Dhabi, staying awake. It's an 8 hour in advance. And Marie, are you still there, or you're sleeping already?
Okay, you know, I got to confess, I have got my camera off because I'm in bed in my pajamas. Do you believe me? Because no, I don't want to frighten you all. It's 1:30 in the morning.
How did you mention we're picturing you?
I just like to point out to my chair that it is 1:30 in the morning at the dedication of your staff.
Comes from Abu Dhabi campus.
Oh, anyway. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see you all. You look all cold. All rugged up there.
New York, remember? New York in November. It's not
Yeah.
Please don't brag how much the nice weather in Abu Dhabi right now.
Okay, I won't. I shan't. It's hard not to, but it is absolutely beautiful here at the moment. People think it's hot all the time. It's not. We have about 5 months of intense, stifling heat, and the rest of the time it's just so beautiful. But I digress, and I'm keeping you all there. After that, that's really difficult to follow, isn't it? That's like uber high tech. I know. What I wanted to do, because I do apologize for being late as well, but I did a presentation using a screencast, and then because I was trying to focus on, I wanted to share my message in that we use such high technology, and I wanted to take it right back down to just communicating with our students. And for me, there's that particular challenge in that the majority of my students, all but 2 actually, are non-native English speakers. So for me, I try and utilize technology to just share feedback when it comes for assessment and task feedback. And explanatory feedback for me has been an amazing success with my student cohort. So I just wanted to take it back to basics. You can have a little sleep if you want, I don't mind. But I've just thrown, look, and oh, Melda. Oh dear, what a shocker. I can guarantee I don't look like that now. Never mind. So what I'll do is I created a quick screencast. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to participate. And I just wanted to show you a little bit about the culture of my student cohort and something that's really quite simplistic and yet really, really effective with students. So is everyone, oh, I can't share my screen, can I? Can I? Yes, I can. All right, if you will indulge me, if you're sitting comfortably, then we shall begin. Yes, relax.
We still have a few hours to go to sleep, but
Hi, everyone. Thanks for the invitation to present at SpeedTech 2017. My name is Anne-Marie Parks and I'm a faculty member at the Abu Dhabi campus. Now, what I'd like to speak to you about this afternoon is explanatory feedback. So, as educators, we pride ourselves on our ability to effectively communicate with and to our students. Diversity of our students makes our role one that is both interesting and at times challenging. Assignment and task feedback is a vital area of our students' growth.
Bragging here, bragging.
It is here that our ability to clearly communicate should foster students' reflection on their graded work rather than just focusing on the fact that they didn't get an A. Here at the Abu Dhabi campus, linguistically, the student cohort consists of 98% non-native English speakers. There are also a number of students with diverse learning needs. And as such, I need to be particularly mindful that my feedback is coherent, comprehensible, constructive, as well as culturally relevant. Cultural relevance in this context means that instructors need an appreciation that there is a greater focus on oral communication rather than the written. Now, with this in mind, and where possible, I like to utilise explanatory feedback. Before walking through the steps of the explanatory feedback approach that I use, student evaluations of this approach really has highlighted that not only are they able to follow my comments, but also that they had a greater sense of personalisation when I graded their work. Now, another interesting aspect is that the majority of them engaged with me after the feedback was given, not only thanking me for my thoughtful remarks, but often expanding upon how they would apply the suggestions in the future. This tells me immediately my students are engaged. My explanatory feedback tool of choice is Evernote. Now, this app allows me to record, save, and distribute my feedback in a manner that is both student and instructor friendly. The first step after creating an account is to go to the main page and create a notebook or a file for each one of your students. Steps that I take are that I first review the student's product and make my handwritten notes. The reason that I handwrite my initial notes, I'll discuss a little bit later on in the presentation. Once I've reviewed my handwritten notes and the student product, I go back to the notebook, create a new note, select record, and record my responses.
I tried to insert the file. Sorry, everyone. I'll just quickly play you an example afterwards.
I record my responses with the student's work open on my screen. This allows me to refer to my notes and then make sure that I've captured all of the areas for the discussion that I've wanted to. Now, during my recording, I also need to be mindful that my pace is just that little bit slower because Australians do have a tendency to talk very fast, and that my accent is neither distracting nor too harsh. Once I'm completed recording my feedback, I'm then able to share this with the student, either via email. I can also download it and save on to another platform such as Google Drive. I can also keep a copy for myself and download it as an MP4.
In addition to the students' comments, that this really is their preferred approach to received feedback. For myself as an instructor, I also find it a very user-friendly method. That's because I'm dyslexic. So now I'm able to convey my message in a manner that makes me comfortable, and it removes the need to translate these handwritten notes and attempt to write them up coherently. I'm also able to audibly review my comments later. Essentially, it's a win-win situation. There we go. Short, sharp, shiny. Hope you're all still awake.
Yes, thank you.
Well, I didn't know if I was just going to drop it down and you can have a quick look at it. And, don't you hate hearing yourself when you try and speak eloquently, and it just sounds shocking, doesn't it? But so for me, it sounds so simple, as I said, but it is such a powerful feedback tool. And because I sometimes have students come to the campus. Culturally, some aren't allowed to come on campus because it's mixed gender. So any feedback that I give them, and it's always difficult when you're trying to communicate in any form, actually, with the students that I work with, it really works well, and they love it. And the bottom line is they love it. They find it really comprehensive. And as I said, and the key for me is they actually re-engage after the feedback. And that's something I've never experienced before. They usually say, what grade did I get, and goodbye. But this time, a lot of them, I'd say most of them come back to me and say, that was great feedback. Really, really liked what you said there. Yes, I agree with that now. And so it's terrific then. And as grade students, we love that. Done. There you go. I'm out. You can have coffee now.
Now you can go to bed. We can continue the dialogue that's recording, so you'll have a chance to listen or watch the rest.
Oh yeah, I forgot it was recording. Yeah. So thank you for indulging me, everyone. I hope the afternoon is wonderful.
And thank you for literally bringing Evernote in a different perspective. I use Evernote just to save my bookmarking. I've never used it. I didn't know that you use it for this purpose. So you taught me something new. Thank you. Any questions?
Yay!
No, it's something we definitely try out. Sure.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely going to try it. Thank you.
Thank
You are most welcome. And enjoy the weekend, and please keep warm.
you. Shukran, as they say over there, right?
Afwan.
All right. I can't wait to
Cheers. Bye, everyone.
Bye. It's a campus that's really out of this world. One this, just it was so hot over there when I was there, but I didn't mind it because you're so freezing inside that you want to go out and get hot water. Yeah, hot air. All right. I'm also following up what everybody is lined up. I think you are lined up at the very beginning at the top. So if you want to go
Sure.
now, unless
Sure.
kind of hold up some questions for you, but some of you might need to go. So everybody has a life, right?
I'm an online instructor. I'm a face-to-face instructor as well. And I found a couple of things system-wise within my courses that I think makes the course engaging and prepares the student for to get employment, to market themselves. Rather than talk about topic 1, topic 2, topic 3, I like them to put together, they call it here a keystone or an exit project elsewhere else, and it incorporates all that they've learned in my course, used in my course, both the student how they met the student learning outcomes. It puts them into production mode rather than be receptive mode that I have to bring. Okay? And I use certain elements in order to do that. So at NYIT and in education, if you're going to do any kind of a program, you're going to be using data-driven instruction. So how do you collect the data? And so I start off with a form, a Google form. I found out how to use different ways. Thank you so much. And the Google form asks the students to predict what kinds of technology people have, use, and the number of hours a week, their age, male, female. But it asks a bunch of questions. And they're given this form, and they fill out the form. But before they fill out the form, they have to predict. So what percentage of students in the course do you think have desktops at home? Anybody?
Probably 1 or 2.
No, 0. A prediction? What do you think?
I thought a low percentage for desktops because I believe most of them have laptops.
Okay.
Unless, are you combining them all in one?
No. Desktops is one, laptops is another, tablets is another, smartphones is another. It's not whether or not the prediction is correct. It puts them in a situation where this is what I view reality to be. Now I want to use the data to see if I'm correct. So they fill out the form, and they use Google Forms, and Google Forms has an analysis feature that looks at it and puts it into pie charts and line charts and column charts. And so they get a chance to see, and then they comment whether their prediction was correct or not. It doesn't matter whether it was correct or not. They now have the information. Why do they need that? Well, if they're going to be, and my course here was being an online trainer that's culturally enhanced. And so if they're going to be the trainer, then, and they're going to do presentations, how do they monitor whether or not they're doing well? It doesn't matter that anybody asked them to do it. Maybe they should know to make themselves better. So it starts off with the data analysis piece, and then there's naturally readings that are done and applications and how it applies. And then after, okay, they're putting this together into a Word document. And again, my concept of the Word document is that they know how to do something called the table of contents. And then the table of contents, it's not hard, but nobody ever teaches you. At least nobody taught me. And I found out in my survey, one of the things I asked Microsoft Word, do you know how to do table of contents? Most of the people say no. Okay, these are tech people. This is NYIT. So they have to put together a document, and the document is a Word document, and there has to be an interactive table of contents, and there has to be links to videos that they make to explain their results. And when they're finished, this document, which has presentations that they do in a group, when they're working as a group, they do videos as a group, they're designing courses. This is a course, again, on being an online trainer. So another aspect of what I do is to say, okay, you're an online trainer. Show me what it looks like. So they read about it, and now they have to assume the role of. And one of the pieces that they do is this online document with the table of contents, and they also have to do an e-portfolio. The e-portfolio was used Google Sites. The new sites they have is very easy to use. So they put together a site. They put together a 5-module training program. The 5-module training program, they have to do one in detail. And the concept is they're selling their training program. I don't care if they're selling it to get a job, they're selling it to show their prowess. And so with that in mind, I'll take you to something I put together, which is a showcase of what they did in a 5-week course. And you'll hear this. I'm big on introductions. So if you go to a website, they should have an introduction. And do they look professional? And do they appear to be a trainer? So let's see, how do I do this? I have to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm going to move this over. Let me see if I can get to the link is here, by the way. But it's bit.ly/Dr. Stein 682. So it's not, I don't want to have to be the person that judges. I'd like to see them evaluate each other's work as well. So how do I, I'm on my screen here. How do I show share screen, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I guess it's that one.
Perfect.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay. So, 5-week course. Here's a temporary site showing sample video introductions to their Keystone assignment, to their e-portfolio, and to their what they've done in 682 as a global trainer. And these are some of the elements of the course. It starts out with data analysis, it ends up with a Keystone with a video introduction. They created a website, and so you get a chance to see. Here are some of the links to the e-portfolio sites. Why don't we hear a student and let the student see what she's learned? By the way, this is what a completed document would look like. That I have some of these for you to see. Usually about 20, 25 pages. Okay, so I'll pass these around. You can take these. What amazes me is that they also, I asked them at the end using a Google form to tell me what they thought, and I have comments here in case you're interested. So let's listen to one student. I don't know if I'll see the whole thing, but I don't know what's going to look like. Let's see. I'm really impressed that I got the thing working. So. Okay. How come there's no video? You have sound on yours?
Oh, maybe we need to, oh, did you turn on the volume?
Mine is on.
Okay. Let me turn
It's on mute, though.
No, it's not mute here.
You want to go to the site? Why don't you try to go?
Sure. Can you send me the link through the?
I'll just tell you what it is. Easy. Go to be
No,
through.
Okay, so you need to turn off the share screen.
I'll unshare the screen. Okay.
You turn up, I turn
Good.
up. Okay.
Go to the following site. Share yours. You can put my link right there.
Sorry.
This site is similar to what they would do. So if you click, go up to the top, click the first video.
Hi, this is Bianca Hanwinkle here, and I am introducing you to online global training. I'm going to be showing you a professional development module that I created as part of a summer course at New York Institute of Technology. The summer course was global training with Dr. Daniel Stein. In this class, we were tasked with creating a professional development course as a group, collaborating with other students in regards to global and online learning, as well as collaborative cultural interactions within online learning environments. And so what that means is exactly, we worked to create a professional development series. Ours was Evolutionary Leadership. And we developed it so that people from all different cultures could relate to the topic. But also, we took into consideration the different types of learning styles, as well as the high and low context cultures. And so because of that, we made things very interactive, and we used a lot of different applications so that it could be as interactive as possible. I'm going to show you my professional development website first, and then my final project. So currently we are looking at my online global trainer website. So this is global training with Hanwinkle, Bianca Hanwinkle, that is me. The first page is just my homepage, and it actually allows you to translate each page into either Spanish, French, Arabic, or Chinese. If you look through the pages, you're also going to see some subtitles. So there is an About Me page. It highlights some information about me as your trainer. The EDT 682 highlights actually some documents that I've completed while in my summer course at New York Institute of Technology. One being a proposal for a professional development series. You can actually see the document is embedded into the web page. And it kind of goes into more detail about visual culture and professional development. Then we have my professional development page, which we're going to come back to in a minute, and then my leadership resources. The leadership resources actually has all of the resources on a Canva PDF that has working links that you can get to. So if you want more information on specific topics, the resource page has that. But I'm going to go to my professional development page. This is the page in which my team worked and collaborated together to create an evolutionary leadership training series. The collaborators, it has all of our names, and if you actually click on one of their names, I'll show you, for example, it'll bring up their website with their information as well. So I have a Voki that kind of introduces you to the training, and then it says to begin your evolutionary leadership training series, click here. And I invite you to click there, and it'll come to our SMORE that we utilize for a collaborative tool. And it breaks down our online global training. We have a video that we made through Powtoon. It also has links to the collaborators for my group. We have a promotional flyer that kind of invites people to the series. And then it has an overview, and it breaks down that we have 5 modules, 1 through 5. And then it says each module contains content, handouts, and videos for you to review. And so each module has a specific header that then breaks down the tasks. And then under the tasks are any clips or activities that you need to participate within that module. And some videos, quizzes, and then every single module actually has a Padlet discussion board. And so if you click on that, it'll actually open up to a discussion board where current students have posted topics or things that you would like to discuss further on the topic. So this is how the instructors will actually be able to collaborate with the students and get feedback. The same thing goes down for module 2, 3, 4, and 5. So also part of this course, we had to create a final assignment, and this assignment basically was a rough draft of our professional development. It utilized everything that we had incorporated into this semester into one. So this is currently a Word document. This is my Keystone assignment for NYIT. And on it, there's actually a table of contents that breaks down biography, online PD modules, samples, definitions of visual culture, data analysis and driven decisions based upon class surveys. And each title has a page. So for instance, if we want to do a course review, that's going to be on page 17. So we would go down to page 17. And on page 17, we actually have a course review for the class and some other further topics. So this is my Keystone assignment, and I have enjoyed so much working in this class and building this website, and I hope to be able to use this website in the future.
So they build resources, so if they give their presentation, people have a reason to come back to their come back to their site. Okay, in essence, they're marketing themselves. If you can go back. Okay, try the second one. A slightly different take. The first person talked about her website and then talked about the Keystone. This person, okay, is talking about her Keystone, which is this 26, 30-page document. What I would like while it's loading, this is a 5-week course. In most Blackboard courses, the first week is hello, how are you? And the last one is make sure you have all your stuff in. So there were really only 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, they did 26 pages, read so many chapters, put together an e-portfolio, and a 5-module site, a 5-module presentation that they designed. And if you look at the comments that they made, because I did a form and asked them to give me some comments, okay, it was optional, of course. And with all that work, nobody hated me. That's a lot to do in 5 weeks.
Yeah, I was in that class.
You were in a different class.
Oh, was it in this one? Yes.
Were you in this one?
This is my class.
Oh, really? Okay. But okay. I didn't realize that. I thought you were in the class before this one. Yeah. Okay.
This is my
So
class.
tell them your experience. Did you gain anything?
I gained a lot of knowledge. We had to use the Google Sites, which I actually didn't know that one. I used the old Google site. So it was, it was very interesting. It was really challenging actually, because it was only, 5 weeks, right? And it was a lot of work, a lot of reading, but I learned a lot. And my website, we did a group website, group of 3. It came out great. I got an A, so I was happy.
One of the things I would say to the class, one of the comments is, if you want to be an A, look like an A.
Right. You said
Right.
sell yourself. Actually, I have what I was going to present is Google Draw, and I did my cover in Google Draw, and I'm showing your cover too.
All right, maybe.
And the concept is that it's not necessarily
You want to go?
any one technology. It's how do you put it? How do you put it?
So yours is here too?
Yeah,
Just the
See,
cover. Just the cover.
Cover.
You go to the link.
This one, that one?
No.
Oh, you're
My link. Yeah.
I guess I.
You want to go right to yours? Go to yours.
All right, so that means we can move to your.
Well, we can go back and forth.
Yeah, presentation. Yep. All right. Because the last.
Well,
Not me. Oh. Oh, because what?
What does that mean?
Nothing.
copy the link and paste.
Nothing.
Just the-
When you share something in Google Drive, you need to accept that invitation that somebody sends you.
Okay, no problem. We'll just copy
Just link it up.
this and open it.
that may work.
Oops, what am I using?
B,
If I can find the video.
down on the left-hand side.
Control V.
You can see how that.
Control V. Gotta get rid of the first V.
Now we can enter.
Yeah,
There you
get
go.
the V off the first V. Sorry.
Have you got all the technology people in one place? Oops, what did we do?
No.
Log in, that's all. Log into.
Log and show it.
You don't need to request it. Just go to Gmail and put in your password, and then go back, and then we'll know it's you. You gotta put your password on the other phone.
On the other phone.
Yeah.
You
So your
use that
Gmail at the top, Google. Log in as you.
one, yeah.
All right, you're
That's
logged in.
it. That's
Now
it. You're
go
in.
to
You're
the-
in. You're in. Building alumni cover. Just do that one. That's that one.
I've not
Second one
used
up.
Google Draw
Okay, oh,
to teach me a little bit.
I use it all the time.
she's gonna do it now.
Google Draw.
This is my cover for this presentation.
Okay.
So what I did was
Thank you, thank you.
I used Google Draw because I'm kind of artistic, and it comes out and when I use my MSIT projects. So that's a Voki that I did of myself, and the background is Google Draw. So I had a bubble that I put in, and then when you click there was a video of me explaining the project.
So that's my project.
That which is his project. So these are, this is everyone's cover, but I went a little bit more creative because that's just in me, I guess.
No, that's exactly what I was hoping.
Yeah, so that's what I do in
You
Google.
use people's strengths, you give them the opportunity to diversify.
So if you want to go back, I don't know. Do you want me to show you what I've made?
You want me to give you the mouse?
Yeah.
You can put that right there.
So,
Thank you, Linda.
no worries. I
It's a
love
good segue, no?
Google Draw. I think it's, sometimes you just can't find the right picture, or you find pictures and you don't like them. So what I do is I create my own.
By the way, if you're publishing for publishing and peer-reviewed articles, if you do not have your own
Right, copyrights.
you have to go pay for it, which
I
you
know.
have to be published.
So as an introduction to this little module, I always say create it in Google Draw, and this is something I did in 5 minutes. yesterday morning.
I think you're going to be doing invitations.
It
I
just,
did, right?
I don't know, it just comes to me. I just have,
Cute.
I have fun with it. This is from your class as well. We have the WISCOM model. In the booklet, it was just so boring, and it was black and white, and I couldn't understand it. So then I just made a model of it so that I could understand it better. When you put it into color,
Yes, I agree.
it makes it more engaging.
So did you create that from scratch, or did
Yes.
you cut and paste the picture?
Oh, no, I created this from scratch.
Show us how to do Google Drive.
Let's look at the examples first, right?
Okay.
This is, I did a bio about me. This was from your website as well. So I made a caricature of myself. This is from, actually I got this from Danielle, Face Your Manja. She told me how that website's really good for caricatures. So I tried to make a caricature of myself. You know, I put this line in so it, you know, it's just creative. This is a little bio about me. After graduating college, I actually worked on Wall Street. I worked on the trading floors of Swiss Bank, UBS, and Merrill Lynch. And technology always grabbed my attention. But then after 9/11, we were all like let go. And I was actually at 9/11. I actually ran with my daughter. But it's amazing how you can switch careers. So I got a job in NYIT.
Nice.
And I worked in president's office briefly. Then I worked in planning and assessment, which now changed to planning analytics and decision support. And I'm also the program manager for the 2018-19 self-study.
Wow.
Yeah, so like I've grown at NYIT, and then I decided that I really needed my master's, and I love technology, so I was just very much attracted to this degree.
And then we were just walking outside and talking, and then
Yeah.
she is now inspiring all of us.
So I think Google Drive is just fun, and you just,
How do you get
All
started
right,
on it?
now we want to know how you
so you go to new, then you go more. Oh, it's not letting me. I guess
More apps.
Oh, because-
More apps at the bottom.
it's right
No,
here.
no,
No,
it's
it's right
there.
here.
why it's not letting you.
It's not letting me. I think it's for sharing a document.
Oh.
No? But it's right here.
Okay.
So you come up with a blank palette.
Maybe you should get into your account.
Yeah.
Maybe my account is bad. I don't know.
We have to get out of this, I think.
But then how are you
But then
going to show it to us, right?
Yeah.
I have
That's the Zoom.
I have to
Yeah.
log into NYIT account.
Or you can do that from your screen.
So let's.
We can do it here, new.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. More.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
there you go.
There you go.
Google Draw. So here you are. So you have, this is a blank palette. So, I mean, what would you like to do? Anything.
Good drawing.
No, you can't. No, it's hard to do people. But like, for example, what I did with a balloon. And the first one, you go to shapes. No lines, sorry, lines. And here you go to scribble. And I can make a balloon. Ooh. Let's say that's my balloon. Well, it's bad, but you know, and I go like that. And then you can just make it thicker. Make it red. Make it thicker. You know, you can do whatever you want.
Can you cut a copy and paste
Yes, you
something
can.
on it,
You can.
right onto it?
Yeah, and
You
then the
can
back
snip
one.
something and put it right on there.
Yeah,
and
there's the
that's
image.
cool.
The image here. You can get image. Upload. You can do anything you want, and then you can do the background. It's not working.
That's fun.
It's not working.
I think there's a delay because Zoom is.
Yeah, it's not working properly. But you can do, you know, whatever you want, shapes.
So is that how you got the chart? You just did the shapes and the shapes. The shapes.
Concentric circles.
And you were able to put the text within circles.
And the arrows, if you want, there was an arrow in that one. You could do this.
Does it let you do arch text, like around circle?
Around like an arrow or?
No, like if you have a
Text.
circle, can you have the text
Oh, yeah.
go curve around it?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
And then you can use the arrange to come from.
Yeah, I mean, you can, and then, you can move
There used to be
around.
a program when I was
You can move it
young,
around.
it's called
and then
Corel
if you want.
Draw.
Oh,
In
yeah.
the beginning,
Oh,
it was
when you-
way back.
yeah.
Well, sometimes you have a diagram and you really can't find it. And this is great. You could share it. So you can make it in 5 minutes and then everyone can see it.
Wow, that's perfect. Or the good thing about Google, you can co-design it, co-create.
Right,
Oh, that's cool.
right.
That's
You
right.
can say, I don't know what that arrow should say.
Because
And it
there
tells
are
you-
drawing programs
Yeah.
everywhere, but this one also allows you to do.
Right.
Want to play with your kids? One of the good things, you ever play squiggle? You give them the squiggle, they got to turn it into something.
Oh, here's background. Now
Wanna
it
do
came
that?
up. So this is
Yes.
background. So if you want to make background,
Okay.
Oh, how pretty.
here's your backgrounds.
You just right click the paper.
Yeah.
Is that what you did? Okay.
That's what I do. I mean, I play around until I get something that I find visually appealing.
If you save the drawing,
It saves
can
automatically.
you add to it later?
Sure.
So it's saved as components, right?
This is saved. That's it.
Automatically say.
Now, if you open it again, you can move the arrow around and adjust it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you'd be able to edit it, and it's in drawer, so it's
Just
That's
no
cool.
hat. So
You
if you
can
share this with
Pass it
somebody,
around, right?
we could, yeah, I could
You
send
can
it to
share,
Melody,
you
and
share
Melody could send
access. There, you
to
share it.
and to Linda.
Or put it in the shared folder, and the next person.
Well, Google automatically shares it, so you get a shareable link.
Yeah,
And I put your name here, and then you have it.
the way we did the agenda for today.
Right. Exactly. I'm the same.
Yeah.
It's something I find very useful because especially when you're in school, you need to create something.
Well, the stuff that you did happens to look very professional, by the way.
Oh, thank you. This does not, but you know what I mean. It's a great tool when you're in a bind or you just can't find what you're looking for. Yeah. That's why I like it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
But I'm not, no, I have to drive my daughter back to school.
But you're gonna see a very inspiring cartoon. We have 2 minutes. Like 2 minutes, right? The presentation.
Oh, I love that. And you have to?
Yes. Just
I created a couple of them.
Just look at the video and then you could go because she's gonna explain how to do this in the detail. Or you can watch it at home. The first video. Hello? The old plans. Okay. So this is your-
Is the link on the form?
Yes, but I
You
guess
have to log in.
She has a login.
You know, I always have a problem with the sound, getting the sound
The match.
to match.
She
Is
works
this
out
the
of-
typing?
Yes.
I find that hard in captions, getting the sound
When you're doing what?
when you're creating like a cartoon, getting the sound to match. Hard.
She worked countless hours with someone to create this beautiful project. Oh, now we need to share it on the Zoom. Let me share it. Yep, go ahead. Yeah. Go to Zoom. Share. Whatever you see on the screen.
Okay. Okay, so this is a cartoon that I did for Melda's class over the summer for environmental education.
I love this song.
It's very
Isn't it
wonderful.
fun?
It is.
There is a competition game. A student did use the other
You use Power Tunes?
similar to this.
That's not bad.
I think I put one in the website I did with you. On one of the
You do a
modules.
lot of things.
There's, on one of the modules, there's
It's on my phone.
Yes, I remember.
there was a broom sweeping to get
It says new.
built in alumni network or something. It was
Scroll
a
down.
very short one. I made that one. It was really cute. It was like sweeping the enrollment and I had a broom come across.
Help her get them all.
Okay, here we go. Right, this is what I did for my class project.
Uh-oh.
Take the whole, oh, no, we need to.
Oh, it's the plugins
It
need to
doesn't
be
run
updated.
Firefox, yeah.
Oh, you're not, you should do it out of Google.
And a Chrome.
Yeah, that's what I mean, yeah.
It's not her fault. My
No, no.
computer didn't have the app plugged in. So it might ask you to get into your account again.
All right. Never. Perfect. Scroll down. Scroll down. Let me see over there what's not working. Interesting.
Where are you working on that?
Just saw planning analytics and decision support.
Where?
It's called planning analytics and decision support. It's right downstairs. There's a lot of data. Now what?
It's not supporting Flash.
Which one? Oh, yeah, I don't know where it is. That's strange. I know I did how to learn this computer.
Oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Okay, so then we can send it later.
Do we need to press play or is it down?
I think it's on the bottom left-hand corner. It's
There should be sound with this.
the right next to it is the speaker. See if there's no.
Sound's not working. Okay, well, you really don't need the sound, but okay.
You have to show me Wales, are you?
Yeah. Not Lake Michigan.
You know, people just don't. People tell you something, you know, like it doesn't make sense.
Just sometimes it's not right, but
All right, here we go.
That's nice.
Join me. I'll be this.
I like the notepad use. That was a choice.
So this is what you're animating. That's not somebody writing it. You're filming.
It's a choice when you write it.
you use this music to beat the clock. Is that taking it back?
So I put it, make a drop of water.
Wow.
So this is great. This is like a video. It's not like slide after slide after
Yeah.
slide.
And it's nice and short, right?
Yep.
All right. You have to go? I have to go, yeah.
I was giving you an
Nice to see
echo.
the face.
That's right. So,
Thank you. It was
Thank you. It was
lovely
nice meeting everyone.
nice meeting you, Linda. Powtoon is free. It's limited. Powtoon is free though. I'm using it with my class right now. I teach at Westbrook Preparatory School in Westbury, which is a residential high school. Westbrook Preparatory is a residential high school for students with autism. So that's what I'm doing there. So I wanted to learn and do some, and it was a little brave of me to do that instead of just write a paper or do a PowerPoint, because I already knew how to do that. So
Can they focus on that?
what?
Autistic, will they focus on
I'm
the
gonna,
changing screen?
yeah, they're fine. My kids take the Regents.
Oh, okay.
My kids take the Regents exam.
Oh,
Yeah, they do great. I would, so what I did is they suggest that you start with a storyboard with this. I didn't have time for a storyboard in a summer class. I was like pounding this out. And just getting used to the technology was, it's really simple. It shows you how it all works. It really,
Log in as me so that
right,
you can play around.
yeah, I will.
You go to Kane?
Good, I could teach everyone. Okay. Let's see.
So go to,
Know what to do.
no, go to, what I started with is, I like to start, you customize a popular template. That way they see something that's kind of done, but then they can go to the inspiration.
Okay.
One way there, done.
So it's already ready made. That
Yeah, and then because starting from scratch with technology, I have found, I've been teaching computers for a long time, about 12 years. It's very overwhelming for a lot of kids. Everybody claims to be great with a computer. No, you're great with gaming, you're good texting your friends,
Perfect.
you're
Right.
great with stuff like that. I hear from parents all the time, well, what do you mean my kid got, didn't get 100? They're great on a computer. They're great with gaming, and that's wonderful. But the actual curriculum and curriculum-driven instruction is a challenge for some kids. So I started with they started with an introduction. So go to preview there. No, go back. Oh, that's what I did for mine. I did the 5 facts for mine. Yeah. I did the 5 facts. But what you can do too is you see your template category.
Yeah.
Swing over to that at the top there. Yeah, right there. And go to teacher. You can switch that
The arrow.
right there. That arrow. And you can change. Go to student. Right there. And then you can. I have my kids doing a welcome to Westbrook because we are a residential high school. So they're going to be they're creating, if you go down a little bit, and they're creating like a welcome, but it's almost like a video brochure, if you will. So what I did with my kids is, can you go back to the agenda thing for a second? All right, we'll leave this here for just a moment. Okay, and it does take a second to open up. You can go to, go to those things that saved there. My kids did this the day before, started doing this in November. Okay, so this is what they're actually working on right now. So what they did is we decided that they were gonna, take pictures. Well, what do you need to take pictures of? You need a plan. Especially kids on the spectrum, you need to have a plan and guided practice with them. You just can't leave things so open-ended because it's too overwhelming for them. And a lot of students feel that way, not just the people on the spectrum. Like, well, where do you want me to go? What do you want me to do? My first question is, how am I getting graded? I mean, that's the first thing I asked her when I went back to
classes do the same thing.
that's the first thing I want to know. What do you grade? What do you think is important? And I want to make sure that I live up to that expectation. So you have to have a plan.
So we decided that we were going to take pictures of the outside of the building, and we were going to take pictures of the inside of the building, and the go back to the chart. Go back to that chart for just a second. Okay, so the Welcome to Westbrook, they're going to put the logo. So we went around the building and we actually took photographs, digital photographs. And then they learned how do you take the pictures from the camera and get them on your laptop. So that was a lesson. And then they had to do the storyboard first. So, quick, what are you going to draw? What's it going to look like? So which picture are you going to use? How do you want this all to look? So number 3 is welcome to your new home. Number 4 is the luxurious lounges that we have. Place to play is the rec room and the computer lab, stuff for them to do. They play outside a little bit too. And that one, the last one says, like, don't forget to be awesome. So the next kid, the other student, did the same thing, outside the building, the entryway. Slide 3 is the dining hall. So then you have to write a little blurb about each of them. So when you're in the actual program, you have an idea of what you're going to be doing with your time. You don't have the rest of your life to do this. You have to have a plan. So what do I want my students to do with each 40-minute chunk of time? Today we're going to work on slides 1 and 2. Get those done. Which pictures are you going to use? We took several pictures of the outside of the building. You have to pick which one you're going to use. You don't have time to look at each one at every single angle because you're going to run out of time. So which is the best picture of the entrance in your opinion? Okay, done. Now you've made a decision. Now you can move on. Very important for a lot of students to kind of put that one behind them and move on to the next slide. Kind of put it to rest. Close your brain on that one and move on to the next one. So then I'm perseverating. Well, I really didn't like that picture. I got to go back and I got to check out all of them. You don't have time to look at all of them. Pick one and move on. So the entranceway, the dining hall, we took all of the pictures in it in one period because they had to make a list in Word. They made a list, a bulleted list of what we would be taking the pictures of. So we weren't just wandering around. Again, you're setting a time. The 7 resources of technology are, people, energy, time, capital, tools, information, and materials. Etsy, Tim. So you always have to remember that you don't, you only have a certain amount of time. You have a certain amount, we had to borrow the camera. We had to, get that. So how are we going to work this all out that we don't have everything, forever? And my quarter actually ended today, so this all had to be done by today. So then they went around, and now they're working off of their storyboard to create their Powtoon. And they're working out really well. So somebody mentioned earlier in the conference about adding the A to STEM to make it STEAM. This is where you're bringing in the art. You're taking the photographs. You're lining up a good shot. You're checking your pictures. So you're adding photography to your project. How do you line up a good shot? Is that really what you want? How would you crop the picture better? All of that. How are you going to use the picture in your Powtoon? Because we're using our own pictures. We're not using the ones from the program. We're using our own pictures. So we're making it very personal. The Welcome to Westbrook. They're all pictures from campus. And you had to have a plan, and you had to understand that you have time, and managing that time. And each day, what are you working on with this 40-minute period? What are you going to be doing today? They stay laser focused on completing a task in a reasonable amount of time. And that way, okay, yesterday we worked on this. What are you working on today? And monitoring what they're doing and checking their storyboard and making sure that they're getting things done and explaining what the next portion of is going to be. So rather than giving children who have trouble with big global projects and are very overwhelmed, you're doing it task by task with scaffolding. I think that that's a little better for a lot of students than saying, yeah, here it is, see at the end of 10 weeks. That's not fair.
So do you
for
have
my kids.
examples ready yet? No.
No, I don't have the examples ready because they were still working on them.
All right.
But the idea of using the story map brings the A into STEM and creating the STEAM. And those drawings, they don't have to be, Rembrandts. It's a quick sketch of what you're planning on doing, and it does help them to stay focused. And gives them a little outlet of drawing, and it keeps things a little interesting.
Use my
Have
example.
you ever used the just a thought? This is great. I love that. So especially because it comes out there.
I never did it before August.
Try on your iPhone, do iMovie. It's an app,
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with that.
and the iMovie, and they have something that's called a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one that's like a make-believe land. Because the reason I say that, it's because it's very short.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes up, there's all the graphics, you put in the words and you add pictures, so they can work in groups and right off one phone. You don't have to go
Right.
right off the phone. When you finish, you can have the name of your school, why come here, coming in September.
Yeah.
It's all the music.
Yeah,
You said
we
you couldn't
would
get the music.
Yeah, we would use iPads for that.
Yeah,
We would use iPads.
and then that would be something I think that falls into line. This might even be easier, but you still have the storyboard because you can actually
Yeah.
put it this way. This is what it says,
Mhm.
then there's 10 pictures. This
Right.
is what it says, and there's 10 pictures. And some of them say, take a video here or a still shot here. It might be, it's going to be an amazing thing for parents to see.
Yeah.
And to follow this up or
Mm-hmm.
just
Yeah, we're actually presenting those parent-teacher conferences are Tuesday and Wednesday. So each of those boys I have to show their parents their proud to.
yes.
And I've had these kids, this is like the third year I've had them, and they've seen their kids go from, not knowing a whole lot to one of the boys takes a class at the New York Film Institute in the city on Saturdays. So he's kind of happy with, storyboarding and writing stuff down. And, sometimes they can be a little resistant. Well, why do I have to do it that way? Because this is the way companies this is the way they still do it. And because this is the way your teacher wants it done, because to have a storyboard, to have an idea and follow through with it is important. So thank you.
That's
It
good.
was amazing.
Thank you.
When
Thank
they
you so
produce something, they're proud of what they produce.
Oh yeah.
And then it looks as though how much went into that
Yeah.
when it's a template
Mm-hmm.
that you've storyboarded. You know what I'm saying? And so you get a product that they're proud of, the parents are proud of. That's a good way to go. That's my thought.
Thank you for everyone who's attending, participating today. I hope with our presentations you had a chance to zoom in and zoom out and look through different perspectives. Like this map comes from an Australian point of view of the map. It's called Upside Down Map. That made me think where Turkey is, right? It's right here. Just want to make sure I find my country. And United States. I think are we here? No.
No, we'd be on that coast.
This coast.
Because
Right?
that's Maine.
Okay.
Yeah, because
So-
Florida's on the left.
With that note, have a wonderful weekend to everyone, and good night to the Abu Dhabi campus, and thank you for joining today.
Thank you. This was so inspirational.